drug abuse is usually a kid who has low self-esteem and may have a family member or a parent who is addicted to drugs as well. It can be an older brother or a parent who has a drug addiction problem. Oftentimes, a child will try a drug just for experimentation or to see what it's like. But those kids who attempt or to take a drug that is very risky for being addictive usually have a self-esteem issue.
Stress, boredom, spending money, parties, hanging out on school nights, learning disabilities, eating disorders, conduct disorders, and certain transitions like puberty and changing schools affect the teen's risk of smoking or using drugs.
%20 of 8th graders report that they have tried marijuana. 28% of teens know a classmate or a friend who has used ecstasy.
The drugs that kids are using now have changed from the drugs of the 60s, 70s, 80s. Marijuana is still being highly used, but it's a much stronger form of marijuana because kids are able to get medical marijuana that they can buy off the streets or from family members from dispensaries. And this type of marijuana, there are different types, but Kush is the common one, is so extremely strong that it is beyond any kind of marijuana that was grown 30 years ago. It's highly addictive as well. People don't think that marijuana is addictive, but it is. The second drug that is being used nowadays quite predominantly is fake ecstasy. You may have had some information about that at one of our school meetings during your Period 2 Red Ribbon Week announcements, and I can give you a copy of the facts about that. But fake ecstasy is being used by a huge number of students on this campus. It's cheap, easy to obtain, easy to hide. It's in a tiny pill form. They can hide it in their clothing, and it's fairly cheap and accessible. And the bad part of it is it's highly addictive. It's 80% methamphetamine, 10% heroin, and 10% some sort of hallucinogen, like LSD. Taking methamphetamine even once or twice makes you addicted to it. You can't say, oh, I'll try this and then never do it again, or I'll just do this on weekends. What happens is we're working with 9th and 10th grade kids in our support groups who are so addicted they have to have it every day. I said, how do you get the money? We steal the money. Where do you get the money? We steal from our parents. We steal from our friends. We steal, period. Where do you buy it? On campus. When do you take it? Usually at nutrition. So that is why so many kids have been busted during Period 3, because when they take it, the symptoms are so obvious. When they're, quote, rolling, they are really out of control.
Do you feel like it's affected you in school or in your life?
No, I don't think it's affected me. I still do what I do and it doesn't get me in my life.
How do drugs affect a student in school and their dropout rate? First of all, they're not able to pay attention or absorb anything. Generally, anything that they listen to or hear in class is in one ear, out the other. They have zero attention rate. They cannot pay attention, therefore they're not learning anything. And sometimes, depending on the drug, say ecstasy, it makes them disruptive and not able to sit still, and they disrupt and distract other students in the class. The dropout rate, I'm sure, is very high for kids who have addictions to ecstasy and even marijuana. Why? Because they're not paying attention. They're going to fail one class after another, and there's a certain point where our school will transfer a student out of the school if they've failed X number of classes. If you're going to fail 6 or 7 classes over a 2-year period of time, you may as well kiss Verdugo Hills High School goodbye. You'll be going to an adult school or some sort of continuation school, maybe homeschooling, or maybe if you're lucky enough you can get into a junior college to take a GED class to pass the GED, and then you can move on to college. But how can anybody pass the GED if they failed all their classes? Because the GED is based on questions that you learned in history, math, English. You have to know this stuff.
Is this: do not be vague about your expectations for your kids. Let them know clearly and consistently that you do not approve of underage drinking. Set high expectations for your kids and for the school environment, and show them through your own engagement, through your own behavior, how you live by those expectations. Remember, parent pressure trumps peer pressure.